Lincoln says you must never ever let a good crisis go to waste. I guess for today we'll get to chat to us about exactly what that means. And also, we've been reminded and told that societal judges are purely based on how we treat our communities and our societies. My guest for today will get to speak to us about exactly who she is, what she does. I call her the superstar. She calls herself a unicorn mom. I think she's a pioneer in her own right. My guest for today is Thato Moeng. Thato, welcome to Conversation with Nnusi.
Thank you, Nnusi. What an intro, bruh.
Well, it is the best of the
best. Me, out of all people.
Yeah, you are the superstar.
All right, thank you. I'll take it.
Thato, maybe let's. I mean, we get to see you on TV every single day. We hear you on radio, on Vision TV Sports Radio, talking all things sports. But who is Thato Moeng?
Wow, I don't even. That's a funny thing. I'm always asking people the questions and not being asked the question. And I suppose, Nnusi, that's why I was. I mean, I've known you for many years. Yeah. But you were saying, how come you're so nervous? I'm like, it's different talking about yourself because no one ever has interest in who is Thato Moeng. Yeah. So Thato Moeng is a girl from Pretoria. Mm-hmm. She's a mom.
Unicorn mom?
Unicorn mom, because it takes a special talent to have Thando as your daughter. Yeah. I'm a wife. I'm a sister. I'm an auntie. I'm very proud to be a hubby. And I also happen to love, like really love sports in that whole phrase. So in essence, Thato Moeng is an ordinary South African woman, and I think that's something that we forget, that South African women have been watching sports. They have a love for sports. So for me personally, to get to do what my mom used to do on weekends, we used to watch Sundowns and Orlando Pirates all the time at home growing up. My mom used to go to work all the time. My mom used to do the laundry. So I'm an ordinary South African woman who just happens to commentate and comment in games sometimes.
Okay, so as a young girl growing up in Pretoria, was this what you wanted to do? Has sports been what you wanted to do?
So growing up in Pretoria, right? Fortunate for me, my mom has been a very big influence in my life. And I went to boarding school very early. A lot of people think it was a little abusive, but it's really just helped me be my own person. It really gave me so much ownership over my own life. So I went to boarding school, then primary school, but by then my mom had already gotten me into the space of the arts. Okay. In grade 1 I was already doing ice step, doing poetry and stuff like that. So I'm used to performing and being in the arts because I also come from a family that's deeply into the arts. So entertaining people has always been something I love doing. And for me personally, being able to talk to people and make your day better just by telling you a scoreline, by giving you a smile, that's actually what I love doing. And that's what I've always loved doing. Being in front of people, entertaining, bringing you some sort of information, some sort of entertaining, educating through something. So communication, entertainment, the arts have always been a love. And if we don't see football as an art, oh boy, what have you been doing? What have you been doing during your life? Because I think we all follow the FIFA World Cup for a reason. The artistry when it comes to sportsmanship. So mixing art and sport was very easy. And then really being a sports lover, how can you be a South African without being a sports lover? So yeah, man.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
So I mean, you speak about having gone to a boarding school at a very early age, and which was perceived to be abusive by some people. But for you, how did that influence and shape your life to be the woman that you are today?
I like the fact that you're mentioning shaping me into the woman that I am today, because the experience that I had in boarding school, I went to boarding school and I was in grade 2. And by then, unfortunately, home wasn't so homely, and my mother had sent myself and my little brother to boarding school to take us out of that situation. But by then also, Nnusi, truthfully, yes, I am young, I'm supposed to be childlike. I did not have a sense of ownership over my own life. And it really taught me to be on my own. And it taught me how to be self-sufficient, how to sort out my own problems. It gave me so much individuality, let me rather say, because even now as a grown woman, it's not that I don't need anybody. You cannot be an island in this world.
Yeah.
But you also do learn that I sometimes group work is not for me.
Yeah, no.
You know?
And it doesn't work.
It doesn't work sometimes. But it's also informed the kind of path I'm on right now, because I know that when I was in boarding school, my mom at the time had cancer. It was a very, very tumultuous time growing up. She had to go through chemo, and you'd sit in bed and cry by yourself, but that community of girls and being on your own, finding your own space, making your own new ways outside of the family, I found that to be very pertinent and very key to my characteristic today. So when I then thought of the Thato Moeng Foundation, it actually stemmed from my time at boarding school. Because at boarding school, my mom had tried so much to take us to boarding school, which is very expensive for a black child at that time. And most of the kids during holidays, you'd go back home to your situation. And the more affluent and white children would go to this wonderful camp. And I think if you remember growing up, there were these movies also about going to band camp. So it was a dream of mine, like, oh, I don't like what I can wait to.
I want to relate when I come back from the school holidays, yeah.
The school holidays, you're sitting at home, there's no food at home. You're used to 3 meals a day at boarding school. You come home back to the situation. That's going to disrupt your schooling just a little bit.
Yeah.
So for me, that breath of fresh air, that time away, not from reality, but that time away from your situation was very important. And that's when I came up and thought, I bet every girl out there, and we've got 1 million women in South Africa, we know how GBV has affected us. And we look at women sometimes and forget that children are also a very big part of that equation. And being involved or living in a home like that will impart so much on who you become later on in life.
Yeah.
So sometimes you need a little reprieve, a breath of fresh air for someone to show you that you're special, you're cared for. So boarding school also has informed a lot of the decisions I take now, and starting the Thato Moeng Foundation.
Okay, I think we'll get to the Thato Moeng Foundation, because I think for me that's the most interesting part, and that's why I spoke about never ever letting a good crisis go to waste. So that is where that stems from. So now you go to boarding school, you then finish school, then you go to higher education. What did you study?
Yeah, wow. Interesting times, because Tito's was also quite a rebel.
Okay.
And I was a bit of a headache for my mother. Higher education, after going to boarding school, I then went to, because my mother realized and recognized the artist in me. And that's why I suppose the foundation comes in, because it would have been so easy for my mother to just go by the everyday story of what your child is supposed to be. My dad was so stuck on the idea that you have to be a doctor. I'm like, yeah, I'm smart, but I've got no interest in taking care of people, in medicine. But that's all he wanted me to be. But my mother recognized that she likes talking, it's her thing. So then she took me to Pro Arte, which is almost like a national school of arts, but in Pretoria. And it's brought about a lot of talented people. But she really tried as much as she could to take me to that school. And it was absolutely fantastic, because from standard 6 to matric I went there, and after that my path had really changed, because then I actually believed you can make a career out of arts. And I wanted to go study film at AFTA. My mother was like, Miguel, it stops right there. There's no money at home for you to go study film. But this is the way I saw it. I mean, after doing Stedford, going to Pro Arte, doing drama, I thought, well, the next best thing is to after really hone my craft, script writing, directing, editing, and so forth. So then I went to the Tshwane University of Technology, where my mother had been working for over a decade, and it just worked out better for us. Didn't work out so well for me. We had 12 subjects, Nnusi, 12 subjects, and unfortunately the sad thing is that, and this is why it's so important for kids to be informed. I was so informed. My mother works at a varsity, my dad.
So you knew.
But I was still shortchanged when I got to varsity first year.
How so?
I got them. I'm in a class at TUT. I actually realized later that I went to the same class as Part 2, my part 11.
Oh, wow, okay.
I know. So myself, Part 2, innocent, were probably the only black kids in our class. But it was a class filled with white, affluent boys who had the money. They had these huge cameras, the white cameras, you know.
They had resources and infrastructure.
It's a camcorder, got tripod, game. And it's like you walk into class and they're like, "Are you serious?" But that's exactly what we thought.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that I was going to go to film class and learn. No, babes. You're starting on the back footing. Already, your classmates have already got the equipment that they need. They've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
And it's not that I haven't been doing it for a while. I have. I've just been doing it on a camcorder. That's why your projects look like this.
Yeah.
So I flunked that year.
Okay.
Which was very heartbreaking for me. But my mother was like, don't look at your failures. Start looking at the positives and seeing exactly what subjects were you good with in film.
And stick to those, yeah.
And stick to those. And then she was like, how about you try journalism? First of all, you talk a lot.
Non-stop.
But she was like, maybe try that whilst you're trying to get over your disappointment. Talk about getting into a new relationship, the best way to get over the last one. Journalism was beautiful. I was like, I did not know that. Okay, so this is what they call this. And I mean, this is someone who's gone to what we call in South Africa good schools, and you still don't know.
Understand
and you still don't understand. And that's why I find it's very important. Had I had an older sister, I might have had a different perspective on these things. My mother was trying her best, but way too busy to really look at the intricate details of what Thato really wants. You know, so I did journalism, and journalism was a lifesaver, was something that I loved so much. I realized that I've always been passionate about journalism. I just didn't know what it was called.
Call it, yeah.
What it was called, you know. I've been loving Amanpour for so many years. I wanted to be the savior of the helpless children across the world. That's what I wanted to do. So I really wanted to get into political journalism. I did politics as one of my main subjects. There was no sports offered, but politics was one of my main subjects. I then got internship into YFM, and then we produced and ran a show called Current Affairs. Very, very interesting. I loved it. And then I was like, yeah, there's politics. It's the same thing every day. Nnusi is doing something, being corrupt. Agna new action.
Yeah.
And DJ Spoo came one day. He didn't have a sports journalist or presenter for his show. It was his very first show at YFM. It was the big DJ Spoo return. And my boss basically said to me, Thato, you can write. I'm like, yeah, of course I can write. Like, you love sports? I'm like, of course I love sports. Like, write me a sports bulletin quick, fast. I think it was something I wrote in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
if you ask anybody, I'm speedy when it comes to this and cutting sound. And first bulletin went by and I was like, oh, okay, that's easy. It was just too easy for me. It was just too easy. And I didn't think you could do anything of it. And there weren't so many examples of great female sporting broadcasters.
Yeah.
We had Carol Tabalala, we had Cynthia
That was it. Yeah. So just so that we don't fast forward too far ahead. So you then finish at university as a journalist with a journalism degree. So I'm assuming you're part of the first group of the Y Academy.
Very first group. That for me made me feel so special because when the Y Academy came about, I remember at Varsity TUT, Chamado Makazi, who was our lecturer, telling us that this is the first of its kind. There's never been anything like this. And I really used to love radio back in the time because I also used to do radio at Top Stereo at TT. First of its kind, internship, you get to go to YFM, but there's a catch. There are thousands of interns, like everyone across the country. When I finally heard the numbers and realized that I was part of the first dozen, 12 kids out of over 60,000, if I remember, at that time, was huge. This was 2006, freshly out of high school, just at first year. I'm thinking, they're never going to take me, I'll take this chance. When they call me back, I'm like, okay, holla back, but I'll never make it. call me back for the next one. I'm like,
there's hope.
There's hope. I'm starting to believe in this. They better
Yeah.
not disappoint me. So when we finally got together as a group of 12, Nnusi, if I can say that we formed such a special bond, and it's so beautiful to see the paths that they've created for themselves as well, to see that that program actually worked and it's still going on till today. It's 2021. And that
so it's
program,
15 years later, it's still running.
wow, 15 years later and it's still running. And I think that program, I wish more radio stations, I wish more television broadcasters has taken on. I do know that MultiChoice has one, Magic in Motion. So if only they would see the trade work and how the participants actually further their careers. They do more of that. Because the beauty about the Y Academy is that you not only had an experience to go to a department that you wanted, you had to go to every single department. Yeah. Music, marketing. So you get to understand the business of radio and the vehicle that it's radio and why it's important. Where you don't get to work. I mean, I find it quite sad that today you still have radio hosts who don't know how to run a desk.
Well, I call it disrespectful.
But they wouldn't, where would they get the respect for this industry from if they have not been inducted?
Yeah.
So it's not really their fault, but for me, it's almost like underground hip hop. Like, you need to, how can you not know a desk? So Y Academy was a breath of fresh air. Kudos to everyone who created. Congratulations to everyone who's been through that program. And I honestly will say again, I wish more companies had that kind of internship program.
Okay, so now you're studying at YFM. So went through the internship program. You then get to do sports on DJ's Blues breakfast show at the time. So how was that experience for you? You know, I mean, you had done campus radio before, but this is now much more on a bigger scale now because the whole province of Gauteng can now listen to you every single day. How was that for you? I mean, that whole transition from just kids in the school to the entire province listening to you.
I think for me, Nnusi, the advantage is having been in the arts and having been done this for such a long time, where it's also very key that my mom's taught me one thing. You have to respect people no matter where they come from, no matter who they are, no matter race, creed, title. Respect is very important.
Yeah.
So I'd done Yo TV already a couple of years. I'd done Top Stereo. And I had already been working at YFM doing current affairs. I had a show called Y Scoop and had irritated quite a couple of celebrities in this country.
I would not ask about what, but anyway.
Anyway, I had irritated a couple of celebrities. So working with DJ Swoo was a big thing because you do note the notoriety. He's a big name.
Yeah.
But when you humble yourself and you do your work. Because at the end of the day, it could be DJ Swoo. It will be Nnusi tomorrow. It would be Alex. It doesn't matter who it is. You need to respect your craft and do the best you could do. And I think this is something that I've also carried throughout my career. Today, I'll be doing a Glad Africa Championship game. And the next day, I'll be doing a World Cup game. They all respect equal amounts. They all expect equal amount of respect. Yes, different competitions, but respect both.
But the effort is exactly the same.
The effort, because everybody who's tuned in to listen to you today deserves respect. Yeah. Everybody who's taken the time out to listen for those 30 seconds deserves the respect. So whether it's DJ Swoo, Nnusi, or just myself, it's respecting the audience.
So how did you end up being on TV? I mean, so from doing radio and then to TV, how was that?
And the awkward thing is, funny enough, my whole entire life, if anybody knows me, like from when I was a child, oh my gosh, TV, not my thing.
Okay.
Everything else but television. It was always, I like the word underground hip hop a lot. Because I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to go stick to theater. I'm a thespian, not an actress or an actor. You know, there's more respect to that. You know, wearing black everywhere you go because, you know, so for me, acting was doing stuff to being told what to do. So is there really anything you're doing? But in all honesty, I didn't understand the beast that was television.
Yeah.
So getting into TV, my mom and dad actually took me to a UTV audition, and I was reading books. That's how I started. I was like some character reading a book with a wand with some kids, and I liked it. I was like, oh, I like this. I had a bit of a break, did a couple of commercials here and there. I think I did a Cadbury ad. And then I went back into radio and I realized that, okay, I am right. I really, really love radio. Then there was this one time, God bless the late Uncle who had first come out to confront me about an issue and then realized that, oh, you're not so bad. I'm like, yeah, I'm not so bad. And then he was on some, hey, would you be interested in doing football for Big Breakfast at YoTV? I'm like, you want me to return to YoTV at my age? He's like, come on. I'm like, okay, because we now have this new friendship and I realize that you're not bad and he's like, I'm not bad.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Boy, did I enjoy it.
Okay.
Boy, did I. It was like, okay, this is a beast I did not know. Gives this adrenaline rush. And I did YoTV with Musa Mtobeni, who's now Dr. Musa. He's Dr. Musa. And we had so much fun. It was so wonderful seeing that I could impart my knowledge through football. I could do the same thing I was doing on radio. Yes, I don't like getting dressed up and putting on makeup every single day, but there's other people to do it for me. So it's not such a bad thing.
Yeah.
And that's how I actually got into television. Though people will think that my first TV stint was on Super Sport. No, it was not. My first TV stint was with Kids TV. With Super Sport, I got a call one day when I was at YFM. This is 2 years after I had called Super Sport to say, yo, are you looking for people? I'm interested. And they were like, nah, we're not. And I was like, I'm never calling them again. That is disappointment. I was very heartbroken about that. I thought that I wasn't good enough, but it just really wasn't my time.
Yeah, the timing was just not right.
The timing wasn't right. And then they called me 2 years later. I was at YFM, and I was still so upset about that situation. I almost missed out on my greatest opportunity. And it was literally 2 minutes before the interview was set to get done, or the auditions were set to get done. My friend Len Moliko had then convinced me, George, just call. Yeah, never know.
What's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst that could happen? I mean, now you're actually getting an audition. It's not you asking for the job. They called you. They called you. So just go, respect the fact that they called you, show them what you got. Even if you don't get it, at least now they know who Thato Moeng is.
Yeah.
Shop. Taxi. Super Sports. I get there and the most beautiful girls are there. And look, I had a bit of self-doubt, but for me personally, I didn't really doubt that, okay, the girls are beautiful. No. For me, it was, am I the person they're looking for? You know, I knew my sporting knowledge. Well, dude, let's talk sport, I'll talk with you.
Yeah.
But am I what they were looking for? Get into the audition. There's Mr. Robert Marawa. He's late for his radio show. We did the audition, and you know what? I was so chilled, man. I was just waiting for an opportunity to talk to another sport head and find out what their opinion is. I think I even had the nerve to ask him a question during the audition, like, Thato, because I was enjoying it that much.
Yeah.
And I remember when I left, I said, yo, Mr. Morale, it's so cool to meet you, because I didn't think I'd gotten the job. I really enjoyed this chat. For me, it was just a different kind of afternoon. I went home, I was so happy. I'm like, even if I didn't get mad,
I'm happy.
I had such a dope conversation with Rob. The next day, they called me. 2 days later, I'm on Super Sport. And I think that's the story to it, because I'm still there.
You're still there?
Yeah.
And this is how many years later?
That was in 2010.
Okay, so it's a decade and a year ago.
We were in 2021. So it's been a minute. It's been a minute, but it's been great.
Okay, so your journey at Super Sport has been, very fruitful, and I think we've seen your growth as an anchor, we've seen your growth as a food reporter. So now you move from YFM, which was the original radio station, and you then go almost left field and join 5FM.
I actually forget sometimes. Not that I forget, but you know, the fact that you're moving from a regional to a national radio station. When I was going to work every day at 5FM, I was having so much fun. I forgot that the whole entire country is listening to me. What a beautiful time it was at 5FM had been a radio station I really wanted to work for, because as a teenager I used to listen to 5FM all the time. I was so addicted to 5FM. It was my dream to work there because there were such cool people.
Yeah, it was a cool brand, for, that all of us could relate to at some point.
Nnusi, I feel like 5FM like lit up the spark in the coolness of me. I promise you, I felt so cool. Like we were going to concerts, we were traveling the country, doing sporting stuff. It was really, really so nice. Working with Thomas Msengana, who I used to listen to all the time on Metro, working with absolutely amazing people, making friends like Abodineo Lusenga. So it was really, really, really nice. I loved working at 5FM. And then, you get the little nuances where, you were the first and only black female to do sports.
Yeah.
In fact, forget black, the only female,
to have ever done
sports. And I completely understand it. Now that you're out of that space, you're like, wow. I hope that they hire another female sports anchor.
For me, it's more sports, not another, but it's opening up the industry for more, women, regardless of whether they're black or white, or the pink or the in between.
So I hope that they do that, and not because they shouldn't give a female the job because she's female and they need to fill the quota, but for me then to always be asked that question is like, then it does mean a lot. Then it is important, even though for me I was going to work every day having a wild time.
Yeah,
it means something in the bigger scheme of things, and I hope that as much as I realize it, the parties that we also realize it, and also other females in South Africa trying to challenge themselves to bring that number down, especially because it's 2021.
Look, Thato, I want us to talk about the foundation, but before we get to the foundation conversation, so I mean, we've just touched on the fact that people should not give women chances because they are female, but they should do that because these women are qualified and they deserve to be there. Do you think the industry is doing enough, to emancipate women to get into the space, to mentor them to get into the space, and really to give them the right opportunities to be in the space?
No.
Okay.
No. And a lot of people were arguing like, but look. The question was, are they doing enough? They are doing something. Just not enough. And it's really moving at a fast pace. I'm very happy. But Nnusi, if you listen to the conversation we've had, I'm very young. I've only been there for 10 years. And in that space of 10 years, we've moved to a number of 3 to a number of 7. Or a number of 3 to a number of 6.
Okay.
That's a decade.
So in 10 years, you've doubled.
But I mean, that's a very, very long time. How many PSL stars have been discovered since then? How many new athletes have we discovered since then? Let's ask a question. Where was Caster Semenya 10 years ago?
I don't even know that she existed.
So we do need to, on that conversation, foster more Caster Semenyas, more Thato Moeng and stuff like that. We also need to foster more Cynthia Chakas, Carol Chabalala, Cass Naidus, Thato Moeng, Zindiwe Dubes, because frankly there isn't enough. And we don't only have one sporting code as in football. We've got rugby, we've got cricket, we've got hockey, we've got netball, tennis. Where are the women at? Where are they? And it's not to say that women are not interested in these sporting codes. Your mother takes you to tennis practice every single day. Your mother knows what kind of stroke works for you. Backstroke, if you're a freestyler. Your mother knows your time.
So meaning that women understand these things.
Coming back to my conversation, women know about sports. Women are involved in sports at a huge scale every single day. Why aren't we allowing them to talk about it? why aren't we allowing women to tell us their experiences in the sporting world and how they're seeing it? And yes, we close it off, make it a male-dominated world because it still fairly is. If women are still fighting today, like Serena, only about 5 years ago, fighting for the same pay, and it's only still in tennis where we get it. Football, we still seeing those fights. Who are we as broadcasters?
Sure. Okay, so I think this then opens the door for another conversation.
Exactly.
So let's chat about the Thato Moeng Foundation. As in my intro, I spoke about never letting a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
I mean, you also touched on the fact that your life or your time in boarding school almost gave birth to this idea of starting the foundation. But what was the driving force behind you starting the
what where was the petrol that
yes. So there's a bit of fire there. So where does the petrol come from?
Like not a bit of fire, big fire. You know, you're always driven to ideas. I'm a classic procrastinator.
Okay.
Classic, classic. And that's something I'm trying to learn not to do. I've always had this idea. That's what I've always said. I had a passion for children. I don't like seeing children suffer because I feel that the little bit of suffering I did experience in my life is just too much.
Yeah.
It's way too much for anybody. Yeah. Nobody should go through that. And you know, you look back at it and you're like, it's not that bad. But why is it not that bad? Nobody should go through that. Always had a passion for trying to enhance people's lives, trying to get people out of these situations. Obviously, I can't. I then got hijacked in 2019. And you know, I was hijacked, put in the boot of my car. In those many hours where I was in a tumultuous situation, I was scared. In that moment, I was actually very calm. You start thinking about your life. What have you done? What haven't you done? And the fact that I actually came out of that situation for me felt like I had a second go at life, a second chance to actually do what I want to do. So now I don't wake up anymore and be like, oh, I need to go to work, check my. No, I do what I want to do. And seeing children somehow get elevated is something that makes me so happy. I then decided I've been wanting to do a foundation. I had a foundation in mind. Let's register it. Let's do something. Let's get out there, talk to young girls, talk to young people, find out what it is that they want, and see how I can also help them. Because you know, you take it for granted. 10 years in the industry is no child's play. Yeah. You know a couple of people.
Yeah.
You know quite a lot of people that you engage with every single day.
Yeah.
Maybe you could talk to some of these people, not to help you, but to help somebody else out. You know, let's all go to work every day, but let something good come out of it, other than a good paycheck.
Yeah.
Let's try and change our own communities and surroundings. So little by little, you see, very little by little, that's where I then decided to move this vehicle that is the Thato Moeng Foundation through a crisis. We then got into another crisis, which is COVID-19, which actually highlighted more exactly why it's important, because you've got some of the girls that I'm working with calling. I mean, I realize how privileged my daughter Tanda is. She's sitting at home with Wi-Fi, online schooling. We're all complaining on social media how difficult online schooling is. You keep for 2 seconds start thinking about the kids who are stone throw away for Alex and how they're doing online schooling. Do they have Wi-Fi? Is there such a thing as online schooling?
Are they even schooling?
Then you start discovering that there is some form of education going bazaba, you know. They have to then chat on WhatsApp with their teacher. How do you chat on WhatsApp? How is your mother going to buy you 30 Rand airtime? If your 30 Rand of data is something your mother's not concerned about.
Yeah, it's not a priority.
You then fall behind. Everyone's going through COVID, but you are in, it's a bigger problem than anyone else. And just a 30 Rand airtime voucher to buy you A4 book to write in, to perhaps start getting you books to help you during this time would work. to connect you to another matriculant at a more affluent school, so you guys can chat and talk about what are your challenges with school, what are your challenges with school about the subject,
and how they can assist you.
That would work. The little you can do would work. So we've been trying to do that, but truth be told, COVID-19 has really hit, and without a lot of financial backing, because as much as we can deny it, and that's why I have been a procrastinator, the finances are very important. This is exactly why most of these children are in this situation. Financial difficulties, but trying to also get around it and mitigate the financial disadvantages, mixing it with how we can see how we can volunteer physical help instead of financial help.
So, what is the primary focus of the foundation in its existence?
The primary focus, Nnusi, is to be a big sister, enhance someone's dream out there where they would have thought that this dream was impossible. Right? Shining a light into your corner. So it's through volunteering services, big sister services, seeing how we as South Africans can assist the younger generation in helping them get to their dreams. So almost like a vehicle, volunteering vehicle. But the ultimate dream is to have a wonderful camp that everyone can go to, rest, forget about their problems, mix with other girls from different communities, see what kind of challenges other girls are having. And maybe you realize that your situation is not that bad. Connecting with other women who are already in the industries that you are in, what challenges they face. So just a big sister program, volunteering, help, and time.
So does this foundation then mirror what you went through as a little girl in boarding school?
I think almost, you see, for most people, it's very hard to do something if you don't have some sort of experience in it. If something similar has not touched your life, even if there was one day where you saw someone at the corner of the street that was hungry and that imparted something in you, it's something that you need. So for me, you see, having to go home sometimes in school holidays when I was at boarding school and realize, man, and wishing to be there. And also knowing that boarding school was an escape, I was able to escape in my own dark hole and move to that escape. And realizing that I can get out of here, man.
Yeah.
Even if I know just a matter of time, but I can get out
and
of
I
it.
will get out of it.
And I will. So that definitely has played a huge role.
So if I'm just sitting here and I want to be a part of this foundation, so who qualifies to be part of the foundation from a volunteer point of view and from a beneficiary point of view? What is the criteria for it?
Criteria, let's first start with the beneficiaries because they're the most important.
Yeah.
The beneficiaries, I find it also very important that, of course, I wouldn't want to waste volunteers' time by having people who come around who are really just looking to waste our time. Looking for someone who's probably got challenges somehow, somewhat, is already really doing their best at school. So it doesn't mean that you have to have the best marks in the whole entire world. But if you're having some sort of challenge, but you're trying your best, you definitely qualify.
Okay.
If you are disadvantaged, you definitely qualify. If you are having trouble with really connecting your idea and your dream, and you don't understand how this is even possible, you are definitely someone who qualifies to be a beneficiary. Especially if you're in the age ranges of about 14 to 21. You definitely qualify. I really would not like to mess too much with younger children because they're still a little bit into age. It is easier to impart knowledge and communicate with teenagers and see exactly where they're going. So it's mostly also as a vehicle for job seekers, seeing how you can further your career. So in that later stage of life. With volunteers, we also like people who are serious about it. We don't want someone wasting our time. If you don't have time, if you are really just looking to enhance yourself and your name, Not really,
Not this place,
because we really want volunteers who are able to have time to talk to the participants, have time to perhaps spend time with the beneficiaries. You know, an hour with a young person could make such a difference. If you're a lawyer, if you're an accountant, if you've already attained your MBA, an hour and imparting that knowledge of you do 1, 2, 3, and 4 would make a huge difference. Obviously, we're not asking for an hour, a bit more, but most importantly, from the volunteers, finances and money obviously is welcome, but imparting your knowledge and what you've learned, you know, and obviously we'll make sure that we vet the beneficiaries and the volunteers as much as we can, because it's very important when you're connecting two worlds to make sure that it's the right connection.
Yeah, you've done your research and DD as well at the same time.
Yeah.
And how do we get involved?
Well, call us up. info@Thato Moeng Foundation.org.za. And we do respond to emails. We primarily would like to work off email so that we don't get inundated with calls. And I feel that that's also a more, we got paper trail, you know, to say that, okay, fine. We've got paper trail because we're going to ask for papers. That's almost like the first vetting process.
Yes.
If you're able to give in those documents, then okay, you're serious.
Yeah, so we can then start
so that is definitely the first way to contact us. You can also go through to Instagram and Facebook. It's called the Thato Moeng Foundation. Contact us there. Send us a DM, but primarily email is the best route. We've already got some volunteers trying to come through, saying that there was actually a rugby coach in Zambia. We said, I'm really willing, anybody interested in learning how to coach, how to get into coaching, I am interested. So we just wait for a beneficiary who wants to learn how to be a rugby coach.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Okay.
So those are the kind of relationships we try to impart and get together, the bonds we try to make.
Okay, and then I think, you know, towards the end of our conversation, what does success look like? And success in this context is how far you've gone to where you were and how far you want to be versus where you are currently.
Success to me is waking up every single day feeling excited to go and do something. That is success to me.
Okay.
Because it's very easy to have a job, it's very easy to have a career and not be happy about it.
Yeah.
It's extreme, and I've seen that happen. So waking up every single day and being excited about what I'm going to do is success.
Sure. And in conclusion, what is your value proposition? Meaning, what is that one thing that you want people to remember you for when your name gets mentioned in rooms where you're not? So if I say Thato Moeng, what is that one thing that you want people to remember you for?
My kindness.
Okay.
The fact that I'm easy to talk to, I'm approachable. That is what I want people to remember me for. Unicorn mom, special, more special than you can ever find me. And like I'm saying, man, you see, I'm an entertainer. I like seeing people smile. I don't want to be a headache. So I would love people to remember me for that person that made me feel special.
Okay. There she is.
Hope I made you feel special.
Her value proposition is she wants to be reminded as a kind person. Success to her is all about waking up in the morning and doing that which you love and be happy about it. She is Thato Moeng, and she's our guest for today for Conversations with Nnusi. And remember, you can also pop a mail at info@thatomoengfoundation.org.za if you want to be a beneficiary of her foundation or if you want to volunteer.
Volunteer. We need your volunteering work, please.
It's been Conversations with Nnusi right here. Please subscribe to our channels. It's Conversations with Nnusi on YouTube. Instagram, it's Nnusi Gazi. On Spotify and SoundCloud, it's Nnusi Gazi as well. Thank you.